Have you ever seen a kid who just gets really into something like dinosaurs or video games or drawing, and when they are in that thing, they tune out the whole world? It's not stubbornness. It's actually brain chemistry at work. Like this video and subscribe so we can break down what hyperfixation actually means for kids. As a therapist, I work with all different types of kids, both children who are more neurotypical and children who are more neurodivergent, and all different types of kids experience fixations. Whether it be that they only want chicken nuggets for dinner, or they love trains, or they love a particular video game, or even love a book and all the lore and the background of the book, you can actually harness those fixations and use them to your advantage. That hyperfixation is children seeking dopamine. And if you watched the video about fidgets, you know that dopamine is very important. It's that reward chemical that helps us feel good about things. And fixations are just things that children and everyone can go to that helps them to feel reward. It helps them to feel good. And we all have those things. Maybe you have a television show that helps you when it's late at night and it's time to go to bed and you are just ready to unwind and sit back and watch that show. I have a show that I watch every single night, and it just helps me to unwind. Maybe there are just certain activities that you do that just help you to feel good, and you do that activity often. Maybe it's going to the gym and you go every single day. Sometimes it seems we make a huge deal out of children going back to the same things every day, and we forget that as adults, we do the same things. It's that brain seeking dopamine, and sometimes those hyperfixations can be more common in children who are more neurodivergent, children with diagnoses like ADHD and autism. And it's not necessarily that only neurodivergent children experience fixations. That's not true. But more neurodivergent children are just able to oftentimes return back to that same activity more often and for longer periods of time than more neurotypical children. It just means their interests don't change as much. They get dopamine from this thing and they are perfectly happy just to continue receiving dopamine from the same thing. That's it. It doesn't have to be turned into this huge big deal of saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe they have a fixation. It just means that's the thing they like and they're able to keep going back to that thing. That's all. And when kids have that thing, you can know it's something that they enjoy. It's something that gives them some of that reward chemical. And again, if you watched the video about fidgets, you know that reward chemical is critical for attention and focus and memory. So now let's try to pair fixations with helping kids to pay attention and focus and remember things. Because the research shows that forcing kids to move on from those things and not allowing them to have those special things can actually increase their anxieties. And a study that was published in the Autism Research Journal showed that forcing them to leave those things can increase their anxiety. Think of it as like a comfort blanket. And yes, sometimes there are fixations that are unhealthy. And if it's one of those things, then definitely help your child move on from that. But if it's just something that they enjoy, that is safe for them to enjoy, there's no need to rush them through not enjoying it anymore. On the other hand, those same studies that showed that forcing kids to move on will increase their anxieties in general, it also showed that honoring those special interests, honoring those fixations, can help kids develop focus and motivation in other areas not related to the fixation. Here's what it really comes down to. If a child is able to develop focus, and fixations take some deep, intense, prolonged focus. If a child is developing that skill in any way at all, then their brain realizes they can do it. They can give focus. So if they can do it here, then their brain says, well, we did it here, maybe we can try it over here. And their brain is able to develop that focus in another area not related to the fixated behavior, because they were allowed to develop focus through a behavior that gives them reward. The same is true for motivation. This motivating feeling that kids get as they are exploring things that they are already interested in can help them to develop motivation for other things, because oftentimes fixations will reach a point where it becomes difficult to learn more, difficult to make it to the next level, but children are motivated to work through it. And that motivation, their brain sees, oh, I did it here, maybe I can also do it over here. And their brain is able to generalize those skills of focus and motivation when those fixations, those desired behaviors, desired activities, desired topics are honored. So rather than just telling kids to give up their things that they love the most and telling them to move on, or telling them that you don't want to hear it about anymore, you can use those interests as learning tools rather than just trying to break their focus. Maybe they can do math with dinosaurs. Maybe they can write a story about a video game character. And if you will use those interests, you will help them to become more interested in other things. If this makes sense to you, like this video and subscribe so we can change the way we support kids.